Well, hello everyone. It's Amy Armstrong here again. Today I'm sitting down with Angie Cook, and Angie's going to share her RCP journey with us. Hello, Angie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's absolute pleasure and looking forward to sharing your story. So, take us back prior to the RCP and tell us a bit about your health history and the things that we talked a little bit off camera about starting right back in your childhood.
Yeah. For me, I'd always kind of struggled with health issues, not really knowing specifically what they were. But when I was a kid, being really exhausted, I remember waking up in the morning, my alarm going off and thinking like, I can't wait until I go to bed again. I literally had no energy to get up and get out of bed. And historically for me and my sister, we went through a great deal of trauma for many years as kids. And we've talked a lot about this and how stress and trauma can really affect our physical health, right? And not something I really knew and understood, but looking back at it now, looking at the patterns of my health, I really could see how this really affected me. And then as an adult, we had a couple of major traumatic experiences. Like our house was flooded and we lost our house, and my husband was in an avalanche. So it was like the stress kept piling on. And I think my body was certainly in a constant state of fight or flight. And at one point, when our kids were older and we had recovered from the house, our house being flooded, and we went on this big trip out into the Canadian Rockies, and we were backpacking. And and before this, my health started to kind of get worse and worse, little things kind of showing up. But there was literally a moment that I had where my health actually like completely crashed on me. And can you hear me okay? My daughter's kind of talking in the background.
Yeah, no, I can't hear her.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yep. So, we were out hiking, and I kept hearing from people like there was this really steep area, and I started to really feel nervous about it. I used to be a rock climber, and heights were okay for me, but for some reason in this moment, not being able to really keep my kids safe, I started to feel really, really scared because I knew it was really steep. So, right, we get to the area, and there are rungs, there are cables, there are people kind of going by you, and the chances of falling were super small. But if you would have fallen, there was a chance that you would have gone straight, literally straight down. And this was terrifying for me. And so during the experience, and then we had to go back over it again, and I was like, whoa, that was super intense. And oftentimes people that have gone through trauma, it's something little that kind of sets them over the edge, right? It can even be like a small car accident or something. And for me, again, this was kind of a big deal, but it wasn't. But it was something that really set me over the edge with my health. And that night I literally got sick faster than I've ever gotten sick, like an instant, sore throat, bad respiratory infection. Our plan was to go backpacking after that. And, I didn't want to ruin our family plan. And so I still went, we're at elevation with super heavy backpacks, and here I am with a respiratory infection. So further stressing my body. We came out, I went on, to the ER because I was still so sick. And then I decided to do antibiotics, which for me, I know like there's a time and a place, but usually they, for me, they don't go well. And so further wrecked my gut. And I ended up like passing out in the ER because my body was so out of balance. And then a couple of weeks after that, I ended up eating raw meat on accident, which further just crashed my health. And I was sicker than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah. And so what were things looking like for you then? What were your symptoms?
Yeah. So, sheer exhaustion. I wasn't digesting my food. I wasn't assimilating my food. The nausea that I felt was so intense. I'm a massage therapist, and I could barely get through my clients, with the exhaustion that I was feeling, having to sleep in between. The person I was working with was like really noticing, you really have something going on. And I sought out help with doctors, various labs, that all seemed, were seemingly normal. And, doctors were kind of like, I'm not really sure. They didn't know what to do to help me,
Mm.
so I really felt at a loss. I felt hopeless. I even went to a naturopathic doctor, and, she gave me some insight, but put me on tons of pills, high doses of vitamin D, high doses of vitamin C, ascorbic acid. And these made me worse and worse and worse. And so like my digestion, I literally felt like my whole digestive my whole digestion, and my like my intestines were literally like see-through, like food was
Mm.
just coming into my bloodstream. I wasn't, it was just so weakened. And so, yeah, I mean, at that point, I just pretty much felt helpless.
Yeah, and it's such a common story that we hear too, my labs were normal, but, and in your own words, that you said to me off camera, but I felt like I was dying, you know.
Yep, I did. Yeah.
So at that point, what did you do next?
So I kind of took it into my own hands because no one was helping me, and I was getting worse and worse and worse. And this was during COVID. And so it was kind of a blessing because I didn't have to work at the time. And I did end up getting unemployment. So I had the finances, which was nice. I mean, it took a while to get it actually.
Mm.
But I just spent tons of time researching, and I did try to take things into my own hands, and which I don't recommend people doing, because it ends up like, for me, I have all these things I've tried based on research that I did, and I have a made me worse, and then I have a supplement graveyard, and I still have it. Like I can't like bring myself to throw the thousands of dollars of supplements away that I've spent. So I keep it in the closet for now. But yeah, I mean, it so I researched and researched, and tried things that didn't help, and tried things that maybe helped me a little bit.
Mm.
And then I ended up finding Kitty Martone, who, Morley's done some interviews with her, and they've exchanged some information with each other. And I ended up working with her for a little bit. And she's a nutritionist, and she specializes in women's hormones. And I knew my hormones were really a mess at that point.
Mm.
And she kind of got me started. I was like, okay, this is the right start for me. My gut was starting to come online a little bit. But I still was at the point where I was like, okay, something's still off. And then I was flying back from Montana visiting my son, and I was listening to a podcast that she had, because I listened to a few of hers. And then I was looking through, and I was like, the root cause protocol. That sounds interesting. That sounds really smart. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, this makes sense to me. Like I during my time when I researched so many different things, I was like, people make health so complicated. Like, why is it so complicated? I feel like it shouldn't be. And I loved the simplicity of the RCP.
Mm.
There's a lot to it, and it can seem overwhelming sometimes, but it really is simple. It's like giving your body what your body needs, and I always compare when I'm working with my clients, a car needs certain things. A car needs gas, a car needs oil, and, it needs washer fluid, etc. And our bodies literally are the same. Like, we can't run without our gas and oil and all the things that we need. And
Mm.
so, that's what I found really amazing. So I got the book right away, started reading it, started on the RCP, and, started to really notice some changes at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So tell us about the changes. Tell us about the differences you were seeing in your health.
Yeah. So, it was slow. It was slow at first, and I was doing it by myself. I didn't work with an RCPC consultant right away. And, just because I had spent so much money, I was like, I just can't do it, and I ended up kind of regretting that, because doing it by myself, I was feeling better sometimes, but then I was feeling worse. And it was an up and down journey, which I think can happen to everybody, in the
Absolutely.
beginning.
Mm.
Healing does not a straight line up. It is up and down, up and down, up and down. It's a trajectory of going up,
Yeah.
but within that, it's always up and down. And so I did end up working with an RCPC, and she kind of helped me, taught me to slow down, taught me to take it easy, because I can, with everything I do with intensity, and it often doesn't serve me. So
Yeah.
helped me to slow down, helped me to see, I was looking at my labs. I ended up doing labs eventually too. And it like really eased my mind to be like, okay, my iron's super high and my this is low and nothing's wrong with me. And she said to me, and I know Morley says this to people all the time, and she said, and it brought me to tears when she said it to me. She's like, Angie, you are not broken. You're just dysregulated. And that was the most amazing thing that someone's ever said to me. Because of course, when you're living in a life, you've lived a life of trauma, you feel broken, and as much work as I've done, that's kind of always something that lives in the back of your mind as a trauma victim. And, and then you deal with it with your health, you're always struggling with your emotions, but then when your health also crashes, it can be really hard to not feel like that. And so that was a big turning point for me to have her say that to me and to really feel like, just to see in the numbers that, okay, this is easy. I can fix this, was
Yeah.
really like soothing to me, I guess.
There's definitely power to seeing your stress profile on the page, isn't there? And a lot of the time I will hear clients say, it's just so nice to see that after, going to doctors for however long and having all my tests come back normal, it's just nice to have it reaffirmed that I'm not crazy. There is something, within me that is out of balance, and to have that presented on the page, that can be really powerful for some people to actually just have it there on the screen for them to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
just for so long, oops, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
I was just saying, just for so long, feeling like something's not right with my health. Like you don't want to affirm and affirm and affirm, but also, when something is not right. And I've been like, man, something is really not right with my health. I just know it. And to have for so many years, no one be able to say to you, yes, you're right. Something is imbalanced. And for years and years to just wonder, and then to be scared, that no one can figure it out. I can't figure it out, what's going on with me. And then to finally feel the confidence to see that it's just my minerals are just dysregulated.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was life changing.
And that fear it can be so powerful in keeping us stuck in that cycle as well. So did you, once you started to work with an RCPC, is that when you started to make some connections between your traumatic childhood and what was happening in your body now? Were there, mental and emotional connections being made there to your physical health?
I'd kind of made them before because being in the health and wellness field, I always felt like it. And I remember being in massage school and I was in the middle of like getting like a Thai massage training, talking to my instructor who ended up being like a really good friend of mine. And I was like, do you feel like people that have been through trauma have health issues? And she's like, absolutely. I see that connection. And even before I found the RCPC, I kept wondering, what the heck happened? Where did I go wrong? When did I crash? And it actually took me a really long time to figure out that like it was that moment on the mountainside where I had a stressor that triggered me and sent me into a spiral. And working with clients, we always find that with them, but so now it's obvious to me. But in that moment, in the year leading up to all the research I was doing, I would talk to people, I would find a practitioner online and they would give me their free consult or whatever. And not for the RCPC, but everyone always would say to me, there was something that triggered. And I was like, what the heck was it? And I don't know why it took me forever to figure that out. And now as I've been educated through the Root Cause Protocol Institute and really making that connection with stress, I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. But it took me a while to get there.
Yeah. And so you embarked on the root cause protocol. You were telling me that you moved a little bit too fast and you weren't quite seeing the results that you wanted, perhaps because you were moving too fast, which is such a common mistake for people, particularly when they're working through it on their own. We really just need to go slow and give our bodies a chance to really, like Morley would say, tickle the body with a feather rather than hit it with a sledgehammer and just let things come back on board naturally. Mm-hmm. Then you started to work with an RCP. what did you start to see in your health from there? What symptoms started to ease up for you?
My energy slowly started to come back. My digestion, improving, starting to be able to eat more foods that I wasn't able to eat before. Um, whereas one thing I would ingest something and for weeks it would bother me, like literally weeks. Now I can, take something. If it's something that maybe my body doesn't agree with, it can be, a day or so where, I get a little irritated because I still have some healing to do for sure. I'm so close, but I've got some journey left. Because I'm definitely going to keep healing. So, yeah, like less brain fog. I mean, I guess you want me to talk about my symptoms, like, or what I'm feeling now,
Yeah, what you're
what it's like
feeling
for
now,
me.
and
Yeah.
you used that word before off camera, capacity.
Yeah.
Elaborate
Capacity.
on that for us. Yeah.
Yep. Um, so I'm writing a book about my history as a kid and kind of how I've healed. And I was writing this chapter the other day called Perseverance, and I'll get back to capacity in a second. But I was thinking about like what got me through like all these health issues, what got me through the trauma as a kid. And I was lying in bed the other day and I was like, just the word perseverance came in and I wrote about it. And perseverance, like the definition is like continuously trying when you just feel like all's against you, right? And I've had that. Like that's the one thing that I've had, to be able to just keep going. And eventually that gets so exhausting, like you can keep having perseverance, but eventually you need to have capacity to be able to continue to survive in a way that is not so exhausting.
Mm.
And so I do feel like at this point in my life, I do have capacity, and I have emotional capacity, I have physical capacity. um I can just my stress levels aren't as intense where I can take something on. I can like cleaning the house or just doing every normal day things. I just have the capacity for that now, whereas everything was so exhausting to me before. And so yeah, just to be able to have that, and to be able to you know just have my life back really
Yeah.
is amazing.
So
So
fantastic. Yeah. And so at some point in your RCP journey, you decided that it might be a good idea to take yourself through the Institute and become a root cause protocol consultant, to add that as another feather in your cap, as you will. So tell us about how that came about, your decision to do that, and how you found that experience.
yeah. um I think I had just seen it kind of advertised through the Facebook page. And again, like as a holistic nutritionist, I wasn't feeling like I had the skills really, to help people like I wanted to. And I just felt like this was such a I felt like the root cause protocol is really onto something, right? And something that I wanted to be able to share with my clients. And you know, I was like back and forth, back and forth. I was like, I'm definitely going to take, this was this past spring. And I'm like, I'm definitely going to take the next February. I'm going to wait. I'm going to save up money. And then I was like talking to Christine about it, back and forth, back and forth. And then she had just like said something as simple as like, well, there's still room in this one. And I was like instantly just signed up for it. Um, and I was a little nervous because, I didn't really have the extra money to do it. But I have no regrets. I literally have, in the past, whenever spending extra money, I've always had a little guilt, but for this, I absolutely have not. I mean, just this is doing for people, what it's doing for my clients, my family. My sister's an acupuncturist, and what it's doing for her already, for my kids. Um, yeah, I just feel like this is what I was meant to do, actually. I really feel like that. I've studied in environmental science. I studied permaculture, and how farming practices can make us healthy or not, and make our planet healthy or not. And I feel like the RCPC for me, as like a health practitioner and in my environmental and permaculture background, it brings it all together, because we really, we teach people how to eat from the farm again, you know, to get healthy, nutritionally dense food. And so it's just like a big, you know, circling back to my past. And I'm like, this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
I love this. I love hearing that. What was your favorite part of the course? What did you enjoy most about the learning?
Um, I mean, I love the fact that now I can go back and relearn a lot of stuff, because I was in a time where I was super busy and it was a little hard for me to set aside the time. And so I did, you know, I did enjoy it. I did just all the science, how it's so scientifically backed. And now I'm so psyched that I can go back and relearn and spend the time. But I loved all of it. I loved the tutoring sessions a lot, where we were able to have more one-on-one time. I loved the live sessions. I loved that, you know, there was pre-recorded stuff. So I really loved how it was set up and organized. I think it was really well done.
Yeah. And that sense of community too, that
Yes,
you
for sure.
gain, and the connections that you make with like-minded people. I found that
Yeah.
part really valuable too. So it sort of outlasts the course itself. And like you said, just having access to all those course materials. I know even for myself, I've taken the course 3 times, and I will still go back when I'm looking for information or research. I'll still go back to those classes and listen again. And you always pick up something new every time you listen. There's a new layer that you're able to add to your knowledge, I think. So yeah, that's really valuable to have access to all of
Yeah,
that information.
definitely. And
And
I always have this like desire to like keep learning more and keep learning more and keep learning more. And for this, I'm like, okay, this is going to satisfy me for a little while, because there's more to, there's always more to learn with it. So,
yeah.
and I, like I said, I do love that I can go back and just keep building on that. So,
Absolutely. And then, there's always new information too, isn't there? Because as Morley obviously reads the research, he brings that to our group of consultants and shares that with us. So there's always more to know, which is great, because it's, it's dynamic information. So we are blessed that he continues to share with us. So
absolutely.
how have you, you talked a little bit about seeing a difference with your own clients. How have you managed to kind of integrate the protocol in with what you were doing, and tell us some of the things you're seeing from that?
I mean, it just kind of happened naturally. Just, clients are coming to me, and especially if a new client, they don't know the difference between, what I was doing before and now. But like my sister, for example, as an acupuncturist who was dead set on, high doses of vitamin D and high doses of vitamin C, and was so stubborn and wouldn't even be open to listening to me at all, has finally, like, she's actually considering the RCPC course, but, where she has gone to her practitioner and noticed a huge difference, in her adrenals and in a lot of different things, whereas before they were unable to kind of see that change. So
Yeah.
that was really great.
Yeah, it's great to be
Just
able
people telling me that they just feel so much better, with just starting, some of the, the stops and the first phases. So that's
yeah,
always rewarding to hear that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess just to wrap us up, Angie, in as briefly as you can, tell us how the RCP has changed your life.
Yeah. I mean, just getting my life back is the only thing that I can really say about that. I mean, which is huge, we're doing another backpacking trip this summer, and I'm going to be strong and healthy and vibrant on this trip. And I'm so excited to be able to do that and to be able to have that back. There are other trips that I've done in the middle of this where I was like, I don't, scared that I wasn't able to do it, that I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. Like 2 years ago, we did another backpacking trip and I was barely able to do it. And this summer I'm like, I'm going to have my body back. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
yeah.
I mean, like you said, if it gives you the energetic capacity to be able to live your life the way you want to live it, then what more can we ask, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
grateful.
thank you, Angie. Thank you. I am grateful that you've sat down with me today and shared your
Yeah.
story, and I'm sure it will resonate for a lot of our listeners. So thanks again.
Yes, thank you so much.